I did my best to cut this video down as much as possible, but still make it useful. So here's me removing the governor on a Predator 670. Now here I'm removing the torque converter, getting that out of the way, because I have to pull this front cover off. Now a couple of the bolts were stuck, so I just went by hand, got those loose. And then in a second here, you're going to see me actually grab the engine, and I lifted it and put the rags under there. That's to tilt it back a little bit so the oil didn't want to keep spilling out of it. So I just ran into another snag. You can see the gasket was getting stuck. One side on, or one half of the gasket on that side, one half on this side. I'm not going to be able to save this gasket. It's already separating in some places. It's aged for sure. I was hoping I would be able to get away with reusing it. But it's no good. So I mean, that might be another week out until I get this gasket, which is the main reason. It's only like 20 bucks, but just the time that it takes to get a new one's gonna suck. But we're already here, so let's get this thing apart. So this is what I was talking about. On the bottom here, you can see like half the gasket is there. So we go around, maybe a little bit here left over. Now, from what I was reading online, this front cover is spaced out with washers here, but there's a certain amount of spacing that it has and that is required for the end play on the crankshaft. And up here, there's a washer as well on the camshaft. And these are set to a specific length. So if I go and use sealant, it's going to change the amount of end play that's on these shafts here. So I can't just use sealant and reseal this, otherwise it could cause some internal engine issues of some sort. So the best option here is to either buy the delete kit, which is more than the gasket, which comes with different size washers for this, or buy just a new gasket. The new gasket's about $20 from what I saw, but it's about a week out. So I'm gonna buy the new gasket and just go that route. Plastic razor blades, that's the way to go. So I spent some time going around the edges here and cleaning everything up on the mating surfaces on both sides. Now I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and say the plastic razor blade did everything it needed to do. I ended up whipping out the metal razor blade. However, when you do use a metal razor blade, you have to go completely flat on the surface like this when you're scratching. If you start going sideways, you start gouging into the surfaces, and that gasket is no longer going to seal. So I went ahead and got this all cleaned up, and it probably took me a good half hour, so I wasn't going to sit here and put that on video. So my next step is going to be to remove this governor wheel, and then I can remove some of the things on the top here, pop the governor arm out of there, and wait for that new gasket before I put it back together. Here lies my hopes and dreams of reusing that gasket. Alright, so the videos I've watched, so many people say you gotta break this thing apart to get this thing out, to get the washer out and the little clip in there. So first impressions of my own, I agree, this doesn't look like it wants to come out very. Looks like they built these governors to last right here. They didn't want these things taken out. Okay, if I can get the washer past a certain point, we might be able to. Honestly, I'm not even really trying to save it. I was originally, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, if that's going to be the difference between this thing street legal or not, I'm not going to just not have fun with it. We need that governor out so we can drive this thing the way we want to. Well, that went a little further than I wanted it to. Screw it. Ah, it's not even a washer. It's like a little... I want to save this. I feel like I can make use out of this somehow in the future. Alright, now... From what I can tell, that's a really small clip there. See if I can spread it open. Alright, I was finally able to figure out what I'm going to do here. Use this really small sharp pick, and I was able to get between that and the shaft. And once I got in between that just a little bit, I was able to hammer, and it got the process started of spreading out that clip. It's a little bit more of a pain in the ass than I thought it was going to be, and I work on cars for a living. I was looking at this, and I almost feel like on the back side, there it is. I almost feel like on the back side I could have just pressed this little stud out altogether and just been done with it. Save the governor that way too. But no need to save it. We're getting rid of it. Alright, now that I have this thing, the governor out of it, I have all the gasket off of it. It did leave some junk inside of the case or the cover. And I wanted to clean this out, clean all this old oil out and stuff. So I put a plug on the front of the oil pump. I just wanted to make sure that if I'm cleaning it, I'm not getting junk inside of there. And I just got to be careful not to damage the plastic wheel. So I'm not going to use any high heat or any machines to clean this. I'm just going to go by hand with like some brake cleaner. All right, I got the front cover all cleaned out as good as I wanted to get it. I also kind of cleaned up the front a little bit. It was pretty filthy. Got as much as I could by spraying it off and wiping down the little creases and crevices. Alright, so with this video, I was actually doing a couple of things. I was replacing the carburetor, removing all the intake parts on the top. However, it needed to be removed anyways to mess with the governor. So this is kind of a little bit of an overlap video. What's up, George? Just messing with the mini bike engine. Look at all that extra junk that's just sitting on the top of the engine. There's so many wires and linkages and cables and hoses. Let's get that thing out of here. So I got to the point where I pulled off everything on the top side. I have the carburetor off, the little bracket, the elbow, I have that removed. Now the governor arm, I was able to pull it all the way out. However, I noticed on the top it's almost like a little gasket or something here, so I can't just put a bolt in it. So I'm thinking the best route here would be to mark it on the bottom and just kind of cut it off so it's not flapping around in here and it's not in the way of anything or causing any damage. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is just kind of go in here with a marker, paint marker, and let's draw a line where I want to cut it. I want to cut just above that line. And here we go. I'm going to pull this out of here. And you can see the little line that I made. All right, I went ahead and cut this down. Took that bottom lever piece off of it. And we're going to go back in here. Coming out through the top, I can see where I bottom out on the bottom, and that's perfect, but the lever is no longer in here causing an issue. So it's just kind of a placeholder now so it doesn't leak or anything like that. And there's that. No longer active, just kind of sitting there. So finalizing today, this is where we're looking. Governor's all deleted. I was able to get all of that janky, factory intake stuff off the top. I was able to get rid of this factory throttle assembly. I was able to get rid of the factory fuel pump, which is vacuum actuated, and I have an electric one on the way. I got rid of this factory air filter assembly. Now all I have to do is wait for the new gasket to come in. I'll do one final cleaning, and it's good to put back in the bike, ready to run.